All right, guys, this week's Raw, April 27th. We're going to get into it. I want to be upfront before we do anything talking about Raw because this is going to be my honest take when it comes to this. This episode had good pieces. Not everything, not the whole show, not every creative decision was great, but the pieces that worked, they worked because they were rooted in something real storyline wise. The problem, though, and this is the WWE problem right now in the TKO era, is not a lack of talent. The problem is whether the company trusts those pieces long enough to let them breathe. Because here's what keeps happening. A good idea gets compressed into a 5-minute segment when it comes to Raw or any of the shows at this point. A real title build gets rushed. An organic moment gets overproduced. A storyline that could be great gets squeezed into a, I guess let's call it a corporate framing with a sponsorship read in the middle of it. In that issue between the machine that wants everything cheaper, faster, more automated, more content pipelined, and the emotional storytelling that makes wrestling mean something, that is what this Raw is about. So let's separate what worked from what needs more room. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Tea Drop, Strong Brew, no soft behavior. Let's start with our honorable mention of the week, and that goes first to Oba Femi and Joe Henry. I'm putting these two together because they represent the same principle. And the principle is sometimes the most powerful thing WWE can do is nothing complicated. On Oba Femi's side, it was against Grayson Waller. And I want you to appreciate the simplicity here. Chances are is Waller might be let go the way since the New Day's out. But anyway, that's a separate story. No, this wasn't an overcomplicated backstory. Nothing crazy, no documentary level, no weird faction attachment. No unnecessary comedy involving a Baker Good, which we are going to get into in SmackDown later. Nothing. It was basically Oba Femi is a dominant, legitimate looking athletic force who walks into the building, destroys somebody at this point, and then asks for the Net's body. That is it. That's going to be his formula going forward. Waller showed up clean. The green tights were clean, but Waller dressed up for his own funeral at this point because Oba was not there for a competitive showcase. He was there to remind everyone that he is the ruler. Waller tried hard, but it didn't work. He tried cleverness, it didn't work. He hit a jumping through the ropes move, didn't work. And Oba tossed him away like a child throwing a pillow. The fall from grace, done. Then Oba, which I thought was interesting, he got on a microphone and said something interesting. He said there are no opportunities for him because all the big champions are locked in with their contenders. So he created his own, the Oba Femi Open Challenge. Now, for now, this is going to be perfect for him for the short time being. It creates weekly anticipation without reinventing the wheel. His music hits, Oba walks out, somebody steps up, Oba eats them alive. Keep growing this legend until they're ready for him at the main event level. A simple not overthinking, because chances are, if they have King of the Ring tournament, he's going to win it this year. And then he's going to challenge whoever at WrestleMania. A SummerSlam. So for now, what do? You make him still look strong. Still make him look undefeated, unstoppable. That's how you do it. It's very clear that based on the promos, and they're not trying to push it yet, but eventually it will be, it's going to be Oba Femi versus Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. How they get there, I personally think if they reactivate the King of the Ring, he should win it and go from there. It makes sense. He's the ruler. He now becomes the king. Very simple, not complicated. Give him victims, give him consistency, let the crowd learn the rhythm, and that's it. Now we move on to Joe Henry. Completely different energy though, but the same principle. Joe Henry is in the ring with the guitar, singing his way into Raw since it's his first night as part of the main roster. He's getting the crowd to play along, making the Netflix joke, showing some respect to Roman, but then calling for Logan Paul to be fired. And the crowd fully into it. Here's what I want you to get. You cannot manufacture that on a spreadsheet. No AI could predict that. Not even a corporate memo can create that. That is a performer who understands the crowd, the timing, the joke, the rhythm, and the moment. He understood how to get the crowd with him, and he knew what to use to make him go his way. That is organic wrestling energy. Logan Paul and Austin Theory eventually come out. Logan was the heat magnet as always. Theory was the annoying sidekick with the gold, and Henry was the new guy everyone wanted to like. They started attacking him, and then the Street Profits made the save. Henry hit the stage dive, the crowd got their moment. This probably will lead to the tag team match that I'm talking about for Backlash. We will see. This week shall tell us. Now, what do Oba Femi and Joe Henry have in common? Neither one is a corporate instinct. Both are wrestling instincts. Corporate asks, how do we package this brand asset? Wrestling asks, what does this crowd want to react to? Oba gives us power. Henry gives us participation. Both work. When WWE, though, lets the basics of creating a story the wrestling way breathe, will deliver. Trust the system, guys. Let's move to moment number 3 of the week, and that is Becky Lynch versus Io Sky, which eventually gets Asuka's involvement. Now, Becky Lynch opened this segment. She comes out. She goes her full heel victory lap mode, talking about WrestleMania achievements, history made, greatest women's wrestler alive. And then, annoying as only Becky and this character can be, the pivot to women of the people becomes a thing. She says, fighting for the common folk, her daughter, the everyday fan. She is doing that annoying heel move, you know that one. Whether the villain tries to claim relatability while standing on top of everyone around them. It landed because Becky's good at it. She issued an open challenge. How many open challenges we're going to have on Raw? Hilarious. She wanted new, shiny, and exciting people to go against. And then Io Sky's music hits. And Becky's response, I thought it was clever. She tried to minimize Io. She said Io was, what was it? She was none of those things that she said before. She wasn't shiny, new, or exciting. She said she wanted Rhea Ripley, and Io was basically Marty Jannetty showing up when she asked for Shawn Michaels. I gotta give it to Becky. She can throw some sharp lines at times. And Io didn't need a speech, just punched her. Because sometimes the comeback is hands. Adam Pearce made it official. The match itself delivered in a compressed TV window, and that is a frustrating compliment because these two women are too good to constantly be rushed or put between commercial breaks. They gave you what they could. You could feel it, wanting more time. That is not a knock on their performance. Unfortunately, that is a knock on the format that WWE and TKO has set up going forward. And then Asuka appeared. Io went for the Asai moonsault. Asuka came out, tripped Io on the apron. Becky rolled her in. Second manhandle slam. Becky retains the title. Then Asuka begins attacking Io after the match, locks in a lock, stood over her. This visual matters for many reasons. We'll start with the most obvious one. This wasn't just an interference. It was a statement by Asuka because Asuka is not a random heel who wants a title shot. Asuka is someone with an emotional attachment and history and unresolved tension with Io Sky. Damage control, shared years, a friendship, or whatever that alliance was, that now has a crack in it large enough for this feud to live in. There's also the situation that no one's going to talk about, or at least if you go to the WWE page, they will never talk about it, is the fact that this feud had the crowd chanting for We Want Kyrie. It looked like Asuka was a little teary when she heard that. The crowd was into the chant to the point that WWE had it muted. I did a reel about that, check or a short about it. Check out my short on YouTube. We talked about it already. But it was interesting. They were so loud that WWE had to mute the crowd. They muted the crowd. Unfortunately, guys, I don't know at this point if we are going to get Kyrie back. I think she's gone for good. Don't expect her to do the same thing R-Truth did last year, which he shows up randomly. He re-signs with the company. because as you know, with the back history of that story, it was different than we expected. Now, if they do the same, if it does happen again, at this point, WWE is fucking with us. And what I mean by that, they are trying to retry this same emotion year after year after year, which is it's going to become old as hell. Because now then people are going to expect, oh, you're gonna do this move again. I really hope is not the case. I want Kyrie back, but at the same time, it's going to feel like they're pulling the same thing with R-Truth. And when does this end? Now, when it comes to this match or this feud, the feud is already at its all-time heat. It should have been worked harder before WrestleMania and make it a WrestleMania match. And that is what it is at this point. But now that we're building this story and now that we can actually have a segment between these two, hopefully they don't rush the match and instead actually start doing some dialogue in the next week. We will see. The question when it comes to these two is not who's going to win at Backlash. The question is, why did Asuka is really doing this? We already know that, oh, you should treat me as your elder, respect me as your elder and all that. But why are you at this all of a sudden? What is holding Io Sky back from going against her? What is Asuka jealous about? Did Asuka feel abandoned when Io's star rose and she didn't? Give Io some emotional real estate when it comes to this match. Let her tell us what this cost her personally. Let Asuka's reasons have some depth. Let the women do their thing. Let them do their match. Let them do their promo. There's some real meat in this feud. And if WWE can let it go, we can have a great match. But we will see. Stories roll right now, but we will see. I don't want them to rush it. I want them to do this match right because it could be good. But when it comes to the actual match at Backlash, they should let them go all out. We'll see. Moment number 2, Bron Breakker versus Seth Rollins. The future checkpoint era for Bron Breakker, and I'll get to that. This segment is perhaps the most important thing on Raw this week for one specific reason. It tells us whether WWE is serious about Bron Breakker as a future top guy. Let me be direct. Bron has everything obvious. The look, the explosiveness, the intensity, that somebody is about to get folded energy that you cannot teach. You either have it or you don't. Bron has it. The challenge is evolving him beyond the obvious because being physically imposing 2026 is not enough anymore. You have to make people care before you hit that spear. You have to be more than just Impact, more than a highlight reel, more than a young monster being fed to a veteran story. And Seth Rollins is the best kind of test for that because Seth is a stabilizer for WWE. He can deliver big matches, cut big promos, and make any feud feel important. He controls segments with I always say it wrong. And just enough self-awareness to keep it interesting. But when it comes to this feud and the match coming at Backlash, there's a warning. If the goal is to make Bron feel like a real killer, Seth cannot outshine him every week with personality. Because if Bron is just a loud monster and Seth does all the heavy lifting, that is another missed opportunity for Bron. And WWE cannot afford to miss with Bron anymore. His upside is too real at this point. What this feud needs is Bron has to take the space, own the moments between them to make Seth uncomfortable, not just physically, but also psychologically. Seth needs to realize at some point that this is not just another young guy he can charm his way past like he always does. And Bron needs to realize that beating Seth requires more than just strength. That is the classic dynamic, the veteran artist versus the athletic wrecking ball, the man who sings his own songs versus the man who wants to cut the music and run through your chest. Backlash is the checkpoint for Bron Breakker. It answers the question if Bron is ready to become an undeniable threat for the main roster, or is Seth still the gatekeeper? They're going to have to let it breathe. Give Bron more than just intensity. Give Seth more than laughing arrogance. You know which one I'm talking about. Whoops. The laughing arrogance. That's what I meant. Let this feel like a clash of eras because it should. But we will see what happens between these two. That's the second most exciting match I'm waiting for besides the Io and Asuka. Now, moment number 1, Roman versus Jacob Fatu. This was the moment of the night for most people. And here's why it felt bigger than a standard champion challenger confrontation. The tension is not just about the title. Jacob Fatu is not just a challenger. I spoke about in the Backlash preview, I guess. He is a consequence. A challenger is someone who earns a shot by winning matches. A consequence is something the main character created through their own choices throughout the years. And now it has come back to collect. Roman built the bloodline. Roman decided who was family and who was useful. Roman established the hierarchy, curated it, weaponized it. And Jacob Fatu watched the empire grow from the outside of WWE. Grinded for 12 years, watching still, waiting. Roman came out with his usual entrance, talked about the title being created in spite of him, said the title does not make the man makes the title. And that line reveals everything about Roman's character. He genuinely believes value flows through him. The title matters because he holds it. The show matters because he is on it. That belief in Roman's universe is not arrogance. It is his truth. Jacob came out and the energy changed. A challenger should challenge the temperature in the room. And Jacob did. He said he didn't need time. He knew what he wanted. He didn't say he wanted the title. He said he needs it. That is survival, not ambition. He needed it for the money, to feed his kids, for everything that comes with having the title. Those are two different things. He talked about being broke, about fighting his way in, about watching the bloodline from the outside for over a decade. And then Jacob said Solo called him. And that one detail, Solo called him, explodes the scope of this feud, because now it is not just Roman versus Jacob. It is a question of who had real power in the bloodline all along. Roman's reaction, he dismissed Solo, minimized him, rewrote history in his favor, because that is what Roman does. He said that he signed off on Jacob. You didn't know? I signed off. You know why? Well, not that. It's because that Jacob hadn't earned this position, that giving him the match would be nepotism. That is the Roman we know. The man who never admits he is afraid because he has convinced himself he is incapable of it. Jacob did not need another speech. At that point, he just attacked. He choked Roman. He headbutted him, left him on the mat. And then this is the visual that matters for the match. He threw the world championship at him. He threw the belt at Roman like it was something Roman was holding temporarily, like a receipt, not a prize. Roman, from the mat, accepted. He picked up the mic and said he accepts the match. Not graciously or even confidently. He looked embarrassed, angry, forced him into a fight by someone who would not accept being minimalized. And that is the story. Roman representing the empire, Jacob representing the consequence of that empire, and those two things colliding with family tension, with Solo's shadow, with the weight of 12 years behind Jacob. This can be one of the best WWE storylines they have right now. The only warning I have, as always, do not rush it. Do not turn this into an overbooked bloodline noise. The story does not need interference, vignettes, fake outs, or a twist. It needs two people in a ring at Backlash with real stakes and the crowd understanding exactly what those stakes can cost. Let it breathe. Let it breathe. Raw this week had life. Oba Femi doesn't overcomplicate himself. Joe Henry doesn't clean up himself. He just does what he does best. Io and Asuka, as I can say, don't rush it. Bron Breakker, don't make him a generic heel. Roman and Jacob, as I hope, don't overbook that match. These pieces don't need a boardroom. It doesn't need a boardroom to interfere in this thing. They need time, confidence, and WWE to trust the thing that got all of this in the first place. Emotion, conflict, crowd reaction, and noise. Consequences. Let wrestling be wrestling, guys. Because the future of wrestling should not feel automated. It should feel alive. Let me know in the comments what you think of Raw. What were your top 3? Let me know, and I'll see you on the next video.